Alrighty. Hey folks, how you doing? Ron Raymond here from the Ron Raymond Report Sports Betting Podcast with Ross Benjamin from Ross Benjamin Sport. Today is Hump Day, September 2nd. How you doing, Mr. Benjamin?
Doing well, Ron. Middle of the week, but college football starts tomorrow. Wow. Not a big matchup or a premier matchup, but still, it signifies the beginning of football season, which is always an exciting thing for guys like us, and I'm sure a lot of the viewers and listeners out there as well.
Yeah, we're getting to that stage in life where we're trading in our shorts and T-shirts for jeans and long sleeves, right?
Yeah.
And that's when you know that there's a change in the air, and there's a buzz of kids and people going back to school or work. Let's be honest, it's a crazy year with COVID. So day by day, Groundhog Day, but it is what it is. And you're right, college football is here. And then, hey, Ross, 1 week, or actually next week, we'll start talking NFL football.
8 days from now, the NFL season begins with the defending champion Kansas City Chiefs hosting the Houston Texans. So that should be an entertaining game to watch, Ron. Two very good quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. Two high-scoring offenses. So, and the total reflects that too. I think the last I looked at the total yesterday, Ron, it was 54.5.
Wow.
Which I have to research that. That's got to be, I can't remember a lot of season openers for any team with a total that high, but I'm sure there has been, but there probably very few.
Was it Kansas State or?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But
exactly.
hey, you know what? Basketball games yesterday. I know you had a nice winner with the under in the Portland game. I had Boston. We talked about that yesterday. We got two big games here today, Ross. Game 7, Rockets Thunder. That's going to be an interesting game. 5.5. I did a video this morning. If it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it looks like a duck. That line to me, something's, like yesterday, that line in Toronto, I didn't like it. And this one here is the same thing.
Well, here's what I'd be looking at in this game. Game 7s typically are lower scoring. I mentioned yesterday when we looked at the SPI, watch out for the unders going forward, because the deeper we get into the playoffs, the more teams tighten the screws up. And then we had the precedent set before us, right, Ron, where we saw from a lot of high-scoring games under the bubble for whatever reason. Players are more loose. It takes on more of a playground type atmosphere. I don't know what it is, but I know this. Now the game's mattering more. We saw both games go under the total yesterday. Also, game 7s of a playoff series typically are favored a low score. Okay. Now nothing's foolproof. There's no lock, but if you stop and think of that in a rational standpoint, that certainly takes hold. So again, if you have the access to look on Ron's website, maybe he has it on his database, you could look that up. If not, if you do your research, you'll find the game 7s. And if you tighten the parameters up even more, tend to go on the lower end of the total.
Yeah, I don't have the playoff numbers, but you're right. And one other thing that I've noticed too, Ross, in the last couple of days is the games are getting sloppy. Like turnovers, like yesterday, Boston and Toronto, the first half, a lot of turnovers. And I'm just, that's one thing I'm really noticing more is are guys tired, making mental mistakes, turning the ball, like simple things like making a pass, getting intercepted in the offensive zone where you shake your head and you're going, what are you thinking?
Yeah, well, the good thing is these teams don't have to travel since they've been under the bubble. The bad thing is, and to as it relates to what you're saying, Ron, is they're playing a lot of games in a few amount of days. Let's face it, they've been under the bubble now since August 1st, which is more than a month, meaning just the games itself, not even practice, right? And starting to catch up to them. They were fresh when they first got there. They hadn't played in 4 months, and now they played a lot of games in a short amount of time. And when fatigue sets in, it goes hand in hand to what you just said, Ron.
Yep. So baseball yesterday, you took the day off. I went 0-2. Not a great day after I gave. I took some. Had a good day Sunday, but I gave it back on Monday, and I gave it back on Tuesday. But 1-0 in basketball yesterday, and had that under in that Flyers game yesterday. So not a great day yesterday, but today is another day. It ends in Y. So looking forward to getting back on track today. And looking at the SBI, I'm going to do a screen share here with you, Ross. And I think you just had one game yesterday, right? You just had the under.
Yeah, that's it. I just had the NBA total. I had the under in the Portland. Again, game 7, Utah and Denver. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, it's important that we, you brought this up many times, being transparent, and that's one thing. People pay attention, right? Because if you can't hide bad days, because people will listen, they'll say, hey, they don't talk about your record today.
Yeah, I mean, look, do we talk about our winning days a little more than the losing ones? Sure. If you own a restaurant and somebody gets food poisoning, you certainly don't put a sign up with somebody had food poisoning yesterday, but we'll do better today.
Yeah, exactly.
It's we're running a business too.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, looking at the SBI, if you're new to the Raymond Report, this is one of the segments we start with off every day. Is we look at the current market conditions in the sports betting industry, MLB, NBA, NHL. Now, Ross, we've been talking about this since the beginning. Favorites have come in. Now, it's slowed down just a bit now in the last few days. 7-6 yesterday after 2 winning days for the underdogs. Now, looking at the 7-day average, 57% compared to 61.1%, 4% difference on the 1 month, 7-day average. So I'm not ready to throw in the towel yet that we're going to go back to like seeing underdogs or balance. I still say the favorites are going to, shop away because I think favorites are going to come back.
I think if you check those numbers, if I could interject at this point, Ron, the 7-6, the underdogs going 6 and 7 may have made a profit yesterday.
Okay.
Because there was a couple of them that were 200. The Tigers were a huge underdog. I know that, and they won 12-1. And the Texas Rangers were a huge underdog. They were over plus 200. So it's possible, again, and I don't mean to rain on your parade, but you see where I'm going with this, right? So we don't mislead the viewing audience and the listeners on the audio devices. 6 and 7 probably made you a profit with moneyline underdogs yesterday.
Yeah, and just for recording purposes, these are favorites, but the most important thing is return on investment, right?
Yes.
So plus 243 was Texas against Houston.
Tigers.
And the Tigers plus 175 is what I saw. So yeah, you know what? A good day for if you had those underdogs. Better day if you had the overs. 9-4-0 to the over yesterday. 6-4 the day before. And looking at these numbers, 23 and 14-2 the last 3 days for the over. If you look at the 7-day average, actually the 3-day average, 62% of the overs have come in on the last 3 days. So maybe this is an unders market right now.
What is it for the year, Ron? It's pretty close to 50-50 now.
Yeah, 49.3 on the year. So,
yeah, I mean, remember early on, we were talking a couple weeks into the season, the unders were hitting at nearly a 60% clip, and you astutely pointed out, beware, you assured people that from your experience over the years, this number seems to even out when it comes to totals.
Yeah, it was at 42 about 3 weeks ago. And now it's at 49.3. So it's just one of those things that you just, things that make you go, right? And and it's just any total. You go to any database, if you have access, and go look at the totals the last 10 years of all sports. And I can guarantee you that you're going to be in the 48 to 52% range on totals. It's just, it's amazing. NBA yesterday, Ross, take a quick look at the NBA here. 0-2.
Both games went under, Ron.
0-2. Look at the under streak right here, Ross. 6 and 2 for 6, 8 and 2. 80% the last 4 days since August 29th. Yeah. It's amazing. It really is.
Well, I mean, again, we talked off air. You're looking at, I may have even mentioned it at the beginning of the show. I mean, we saw a lot of high scoring games occur. Right? Not like we haven't seen in a long time. Very little defense. And, I alluded to it yesterday, not to keep putting a star on my forehead, but, the deeper we get into these playoffs, the tighter the defense is going to get. And these game 7s keep an eye on them. They tend to go low scoring, and and like Ron alluded to, the mistakes and the mental fatigue, that comes into play as well, Ron.
Yeah. And and you're right. I think the more games we play now, the more serious it gets for teams. And
Right.
and some teams, I don't know, like if they're taking this serious, and I'm not going to start getting into that argument, but
Yeah.
it's just mental fatigue is playing a factor on some teams right now. And once they're eliminated, they'll that's it. They're gone. It's over.
Well, I think you said it best too. Sometimes you need to read the body language and see what teams really want to still be there. Because they've been in that bubble for like 5 weeks now. I mean, it's worked well for the NBA, but that's not something players, even everyday human beings, are used to when they're locked into a certain square mile area and you can't leave, kind of thing. So,
well, honeymoon stage is over, and now people, it's
now it's about do you want to win a championship or not?
Exactly. And in hockey, I know like the New York Islanders are having they lost last night, but they're having a good run this year.
Yeah.
But I'm hearing in the bubble, they're the team that have a lot of fun because they have theme nights, they're doing things. And I think the teams that bond the best in these off ice and off court are the teams that are going to succeed, because when you're having fun and things are great, that positive energy translates into good playing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, right. I mean, and you look at the Islanders too. There's no star power there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're looking at a team that's really playing for each other right now, and it shows, Ron. I mean, they lost 2 games in the series. Both times they came back from a 3-0 deficit in one game and lost in overtime. And yesterday they came back from a 3-1 deficit in the third period and lost in overtime. This could have been over, very easily been over, if not yesterday before this.
Yeah, no, there's no quitting them, right?
Yeah.
Looking at the 7-day average in hockey, 54.9%. Hockey is so different than the other sports when it comes to favorites. It's so balanced. 54.9 of the favorites the last 7 days, 57.1 in the overs. So, you're seeing a lot of yellow, and yellow means a neutral market, 42.8 to 57.1 on the Raymond Report rating chart. So, hey, fire away in hockey, because right now it's and just like you did yesterday, hindsight being 2020, I wish I would have took a day off in hockey, because sometimes you feel like you're forcing a play. But I had a strong angle on that under with the Flyers, man. So what?
Yeah, I mean, it looked like a great play up until late in the game. So
yeah, exactly.
It happens.
Yeah. All right, let's go to MLB today, Ross. We got a few games. Hey, oh, man, I don't know if the 49ers were in town yesterday at Coors Field, but they put 3 touchdowns on.
Unbelievable. 23 runs and 27 hits by the Giants. Man, oh, man. Talk about embarrassing for Colorado.
Yeah, no, embarrassing would have been the underplay I was thinking of putting on there.
We're taking Colorado, right?
Yeah. Oh, hey, don't laugh. I had them check
try to
John Gray.
Yeah.
I did my research yesterday on John Gray prior to that game, and where is it here? Colorado. Come on, don't let me down. Here it is. Okay, so yesterday I'm looking at and I said, okay, John Gray, his last 3 starts, 5 innings. 4 innings, 4.1. He's got an ERA of 4.7, 1.17 WHIP. I said, you know what? Then the other pitcher, Guzman, he had 6 innings, 3.2 and 7. I said, maybe the under is a play here. And then I started doing more research. I said, no, I'm not touching this game. Woo.
Yeah.
Gray
hasn't pitched good this year. The Colorado bullpen's usually not good at home over the years, but they've taken on not good to another level this year.
Like you said, they started off well, and then they're tanking.
The Giants, I think they're like 10-3 in their last 13 now.
Wow.
So they got themselves right back into that. That NL 6 through 8 seed is wide open.
Well, you know what? I got it. I got the standings right here, Ross, and I'm looking at San Francisco. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're in the 8th spot. They're in that 8th spot.
So if it ended today, they're in the postseason, right, Ron? Yeah.
There you go. Well, it only took 23 runs to get there.
Yeah.
Now, looking at today's game, you got the Rockies. Now, this 3:10 first pitch against the Giants, you got Logan Webb going for the Giants up against Kyle Freeland. 4-2 when he starts in the last 6 for Colorado, 1-5 to the under. Now looking at this game, the computer pick going back to San Fran on a 3-game winning streak, where Colorado's on a 3-game losing streak, and 6.11, 5.16, the over-under at 11.27. You know what, Ross? Normally when I see big scores like this, I tend to go the under the next game because of the law of average theory. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, and plus the general public's going to be all over the over today after seeing that score yesterday, right? And I certainly wouldn't dispute going under. I mean, Kyle Freeland, out of all the Colorado pitchers in recent memory, has pitched the best at Coors Field that I could remember. And then you got Logan Webb, 3 starts on the road this year, 2.92 ERA. The only downplay I would say as far as the under goes is Webb in 3-day starts this year, 6.75 ERA and a 1.75 WHIP. But the San Francisco bullpen's been very good over the last 10 days or so. And like I alluded to, Ron, the Giants quietly 10-3 in their last 13, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and I'm seeing the only number I really see here that I wish there was a little bit more volume is when San Francisco is on the road, coming off a road win as an underdog, 1-4-1 to the under in the next game, and 0-2-1 on the road in day games. So, I don't know. Maybe more research will lead me to more indicators to make that a play, but we'll see for now. New York Mets taking on the Baltimore Orioles. Now, the Orioles are one of the teams that I circled yesterday that I really liked. It's a love-hate relationship I have with these guys between them, Detroit, and the Marlins. Like the big three we talked about at the beginning of the year, right? 1 week I like them, next week I don't.
All 3-1 yesterday, by the way.
Yeah, and it just they all came back to win too. I think I know Baltimore and Florida did. Miami, Baltimore here. Ross, we got them winning 6.35 to 5.31. The over/under at 11.66. When I did the line on this game, I had the Mets at minus 198. Bookmakers are putting a 134 price tag on them today. You got Michael Wacha going up against John Means, who hasn't won yet. I don't believe for Baltimore.
He struggled.
Yeah, he's struggling right now. And the Kogo at 43%. And looking at the Mets, Ross, 5-game losing streak.
Yeah, they're a mess. I mentioned yesterday that this was a key series for the Mets and will tell us a lot about whether they're ready to contend for that at least the eighth seed. And it doesn't look that way, Ron. It just looks like they're mailing it in. And, they're losing against the Marlins when they have Jacob deGrom on the mound. They lose yesterday to a Baltimore team that was reeling. I will say on this matchup, Michael Wacha, if indeed he's making a start today for the Mets, has struggled this year. John Means has struggled this year. Neither bullpen is one of the top 10 in each league. So I would lean a little bit toward the over here, but it's a game between two teams that, in my estimation, aren't going to make the playoffs. But Baltimore seems like they have a lot more to play for, Ron, because they've come off a couple of really, really bad years. And, anything they could, possibly end up with a winning record this year, even if they don't make the postseason.
And they're in the 10th position right now, but they're 2 games behind the Blue Jays for that 8th spot.
Which isn't insurmountable whatsoever.
And they're in the, like I said yesterday, they're in the American League East, and aside from Boston, very competitive division this year.
Yeah.
In the
I think you said yesterday they still got 10 games left with the Yankees.
Yeah.
But having
Toronto
said
does.
that,
Toronto does.
Oh, Toronto does.
Yeah,
I'm
Toronto
sorry.
does. Yeah.
You are correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. St. Louis taking on the Cincinnati Reds. Now, this is where my experience yesterday really took me off the Reds, because I really loved the pitching matchup with Sonny Gray at home. And I'm glad that price tag was too expensive for me to take. And this is why sometimes, Ross, what was that?
Wow. I says that really shocked me when I looked up and saw that St. Louis was up like 13-1 in the 3rd inning.
Yeah, absolutely. And then all I kept saying was, "Oh, thank God I have a 150 rule," because because that's what took me off that game. Yeah. It's like if I don't like, unless I really love. And the thing is, and we talked about off air when we do these shows. there's subconsciously I pick up things that you're saying and that I'm saying, and I'm saying, remember you talking about the Kim, and I remember Kim in his last start, he had a pretty good game, and not a bad game yesterday. I don't know how many innings he went yesterday, but look at that, 16-2, and those are the same Cardinals that had that running fundamental mistakes on the weekend that I was ready to kill. But hey, they showed up on the road yesterday, and they had a really big game against the Reds.
Yeah, the Cardinals are hard to figure out right now, Ron. They have games like they had yesterday. They've scored a lot of runs, I believe, in a lot of hits in the last three games they played. The perfect example of what I've always mentioned, you're going to make mistakes once in a while where you're way off on a game, like Ron just alluded to. Luckily, you got off the game. But if indeed you're going to entertain taking a bigger favorite, like Cincinnati was yesterday, you might want to, instead of laying a heavy juice, go to the run line, save yourself, give yourself a little bit of value, and then reduce your risk. Because look at 16-2 loss yesterday. What did they close at, Ron? 170 or something like that?
Yeah, I saw 163. Or
okay, 163. Yeah. Instead of that, you would have got, I would almost assume that you would have got pretty much even money on the run line. So it's a lot easier to take when you lose an even money play than when you lay 163 to win 100 on every 100. So anyway.
And just for legal reason, when I say I was ready to kill, I was just, just figuratively speaking, not really.
Oh, boy.
Tyler Mahle going up today against Johan Oviedo. And, Cardinals on a 3-game win streak. The last 3 have gone over the total, 14-13, the Cards, 15-21. And you said it yesterday, this Cincinnati Reds team, they're a home run team, right? They
just depend on the home run way too much.
Yeah.
Way too much.
So, no, I'm glad I talked myself off that one. And
one thing before we move on, this year, Cincinnati at home against division opponents, NL Central division opponents, 10-1 over the total.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
10-1. Let me see if I got anything matching the over here today on that game. So let me see, 12-7. Oh, I got some numbers here. It says, can you say that again, Ross? Your
Cincinnati, when they're facing a fellow AL Central team at home, an NL Central team at home this year, is 10-1 over the 10-1 over the total.
Okay, that's exactly what I got here too. Wow, yeah, that's a nice number if you like the total. Toronto Blue Jays taking on the Miami Marlins. Now, this was a good game yesterday. I knew it was my only concern in this game here yesterday was when you have a day like the Blue Jays had with all those trades, and you saw them sending some players to the minor leagues, or some players got sent down. That can mess with the chemistry of the team a bit for the short term. And I wonder if it had an effect yesterday, seeing some of their buddies leave the team, and then new guys coming in, and that was my only worry there. And a 3-2 final for the Marlins, and I think one of their acquisitions got the Marte, I think, was it?
Got the win. Starling Marte got that late inning, 8th inning home run, which was a go-ahead run. Yeah.
So looking at today's price, now we've got a good pitching matchup. We got Hyun-Jin Ryu up against Sixto Sanchez today. And you know what? Toronto Blue Jays at -120 with Ryu on the mound is pretty good value in my books.
Oh, yeah. And I would take a look at the under, too, in this game. This Sixto Sanchez only made 2 starts, but he's been awfully impressive in those 2 starts. And Hyun-Jin Ryu, I think Toronto's elated that they brought him in. And he's really fit well in Toronto. Top of the rotation guy, 100-mile-an-hour fastball, 98-mile-an-hour sinker. And he's seems very comfortable pitching for the Blue Jays. As far as the transition period after the trade deadline, I think it's more. I think there's a degree of truth to that. I also think this is still a very young Toronto team, Ron. You know what I mean? And they got to learn to handle success, if that makes sense, because they've had some success this year. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I mean, but if you're going to be an elite team or an upper echelon team, these are the types of series and games you have to win. They're very winnable. You're not playing the Tampa Bay Rays. You're not playing the Yankees. So we'll see. I like them to bounce back today, but I'm not sure I'm going to use the play, but I have a lean toward Toronto as well.
Yeah, and I love the angle you with Rio. You sign a big contract, you come in and you delivered. Like sometimes, you look at players who sign these big contracts and they don't deliver. And you can deliver from performance-wise, but in the big picture, you got to deliver in the win column too to help the team win, right? And I think,
Go ahead, Ryan.
I think he's done a good job in that sense.
Well, you mentioned, and not to go off on a tangent here, and you don't have to ring the buzzer on this one, by the way. Siaka from Toronto, and we talked about how he struggled this year and how he was a secondary player to Kawhi Leonard last year. So now he's not handled that role of being the number one guy this year. I think what you're seeing with Rue is you're coming from a Dodgers team where he was second fiddle to
Kershaw and
Clayton Kershaw, you know what I mean? And then a couple young players coming up like Bueller. Now all of a sudden he was a star in Korea. Yeah. So now all of a sudden you're taking him and putting him on a young team and say, hey, you're our guy, you're our ace. And this guy's responding. So it's a sort of polar opposite of what we talked about yesterday, Ron.
No, you're absolutely right. And he's relishing in the role as being the guy, right? And and guys like that, alphas, you said he was a big star in Korea or Japan?
Korea, yeah.
And now he comes here and he's doing the job and he's having fun. Tampa Bay taking on the New York Yankees. Now the Rays were one of my teams yesterday. Good pitching matchup today, and I'm seeing the line at -128 for the Yankees, and they're up against Charlie Morton, which I think is going to be on a pitch count. We were listening to the Rays broadcast the other day, and they put Morton they're going to be on a pitch count. I don't know how many innings he's going to get, but Tampa Bay, we had him here as an underdog. -128 is the price. Over-under set at 9. 4.83, 3.92, the over-under at 8.75. So it does like it to go under the total. Jordan Montgomery up against Charlie Morton. This Rays team slowly getting their guys back. And, if they can get Anderson back in the closing role, this Tampa Bay team, man, that futures ticket is going to look good.
Oh, yeah. They're going to be tough in the postseason. Beating them in a short series or a 7-game series is going to be awfully difficult. For lack of a better phrase, they're a tough out with no pun intended. But, Charlie Morton, Ron, hasn't made a start since August 9th. So that's what they're alluding to with the pitch count. Usually when a starting pitcher has that long a layoff, and he didn't seem physically sound before that layoff because he was in 4 starts this year. He has a 5.40 ERA, which was very unlike Charlie Morton's numbers in recent years. Also to keep in mind, Ron, Morton has made 6 career starts at Yankee Stadium and has a 7.31 ERA in those 6 starts. So he hasn't pitched well in the Bronx.
Wow. And you know what? You would think with Tampa Bay's record of 25-12, coming off a loss, they'd have a great record. Only 1-4 on the road coming off a loss. And
wow,
that's
the Yankees, surprising.
Yeah, and I know. And to me, the Yankees coming off a home win as a favorite, 8-2 in their next game. So
yeah, and you don't get prices on the Yankees at home like this. I know that they're missing some players, and they haven't been very impressive out of the gate, right, Ron?
Oh, absolutely.
But still, at that price, and then you're looking at the Yankees since the beginning of last year, facing a right-handed starting pitcher, Ron, 55-19.
Yeah, so we were talking earlier about the Yankees being a -128 price. We just gave you a couple reasons why they are that price here today. Yeah. First pitch tonight is 7:05 at Yankee Stadium. Washington taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. Now the Nats sending Mad Max Scherzer to the mound against Zach Wheeler. Should be a good pitching matchup here.
Oh, yeah.
Now Philadelphia here, winner of 2 straight, coming off a 6-0 win last night over these same Nationals. And Ross, Washington, a 4-game losing streak. Can Mad Max get him back on track here this evening?
Well, he better. The quote, you like to make this, his description in this is a stopper. The guy who's your ace, that when you have a losing streak comes in and stops the bleeding. He's got an opportunity to do so, but he's going to be in tough with Zach Wheeler, who's pitched very well for Philadelphia this year. Again, Ron, Washington, 4-19 this season against right-handed starting pitchers. They're 2-10 this season when in the money line a parameter of plus 125 to minus 125. You mentioned Philly, 7-1 in their last 8 games, playing very well and coming on right now. Again, the only hesitation with me with Philadelphia going forward, and I wish they would have done more to solidify their bullpen, which has struggled all season long, albeit they did very well yesterday.
Yeah. You know what? It's one thing, though, with the Nationals, just looking here, you would think with their record of being 12-21, this is something I didn't really expect to see this. They've been a road favorite 9 times this year, and they're 6-3 as a favorite. So a little surprising. Yeah, a little surprising they've been a favorite 9 times. And to me, that's a reputation tag on and probably Scherzer and Corbin getting a lot of those road starts against teams like Boston.
I was just going to mention that. Yeah. I mean, how many starts does Scherzer have on the road this year?
Yeah, exactly. Chicago taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, this was a seesaw battle last night. I had the under in that game, and man, it went over for sure. It was 6-1 at one point, and then they came back to tie it, and then Chicago won eventually 8-7. Now, looking at today's line, you got Kyle Hendricks, 185 price here against Joe Musgrave, and the over-under set at 9.5. The forecast going to lean with the Bucks here, 4.48, 3.6. The over-under at 8.08. And looking at the Cubs here, Ross, in their last couple of outings here, I'm just going to bring up their record. Come on.
Yeah, they're like 8-11 in their last 19 games.
Yeah, so 5-5 in the last 10, 7-3-0 to the over. And as a road, they're a road favorite tonight. So as a road favorite, they're 6-4 on the year, averaging 5.4, but giving up 5.7.
Yeah, Kyle Hendricks also the Lindy Ruff of baseball. Pitches, I mean, the last 2 since the beginning of last season has been lights out at home, but on the road it's been a whole different story. As a matter of fact, all 3 of his road starts have gone over the total this season, and his 6.61 ERA has a lot to do with those high-scoring affairs. And then Derek Holland, I just don't know. This guy over the last few years, if you want your son to have a good chance of making a Major League Baseball, there's never a good chance, but the best opportunity, I should say, make him a left-hander, because this is the only thing that keeps this guy in starting rotations. I don't understand, Ron. This guy gets crushed all the time. And over his last 3 starts, a 10.80 ERA and a 2.51 whip, while allowing 9 home runs in 15 innings pitched. Neither bullpen is very good. The Cubs, again, if they're going to be a serious contender, their bullpen's got to get it together because they've been extremely shaky all season long. This is also a Cubs team, 13-4-1 over the total in the last 18. I would take a lean toward looking at the over in this game, Ron.
Yeah, so live, especially with the Cubs coming off a road win or a win this season, 7-3 to the over in the next game. And, to your argument with Holland, the Pittsburgh, that's small market teams, right? That's the only reason I can think of right there.
He continues to be in rotations. I mean, if it's not Pittsburgh, it's Texas. I just don't get it. Anyway, let's move on.
Atlanta taking on the Boston Red Sox. Now, the Braves, a 165 price. The over-under set at 10.5. ATS forecast, the computer pick, going to lean with the Braves here, 7.31, 4.19. The over-under 11.5. So it does like it to go a point over the total here. Now, you got Mike Kickham, who I've never seen before, probably making his first start. Have you ever heard of this guy?
No, it's probably his first Major League Baseball start. There's been a lot of that in Boston this year because right now they've resigned the fact that they're not going to make the playoffs, obviously, and their pitching has been their enigma, right, Ron? We've said that all year long. And right now they're just searching to see what do we have in the system, so they're giving these young kids an opportunity.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And he's going to face Robbie Erlin tonight, 3-0 for the Braves in his last 3 starts. And looking at the Braves, a 3-game win streak, 21-14 on the year, coming off a 10-3 win. Man, the Braves are really hitting the ball of late, with that Philly series and then Boston.
Ron, the other thing, 17-2 is a favorite this year. And I think if I remember what you said yesterday, they were 7-0 as a road favorite going into yesterday. I think it might be 8-0 now.
Yeah. Actually, I see 9-0. 9-0 as a road favorite this season. So
you'll forgive me for that mistake, right?
No, absolutely. Yeah, but going in today, Ross, look at the price, 165. It's Atlanta, and these are beatable games. Like, you got to win these games, especially for
Yeah.
Atlanta in the National League East.
Again, look at the run line, folks. You might want to look at the run line here, because the last 2 days I had Atlanta on the run line on Monday, and yesterday they won 10-3. So you can, if indeed you want to go with Atlanta today, you're going to get a lot better value laying the 1.5 runs on the run line and lessening your risk as well.
Yeah. Looking at the next game here, Detroit, a team that you've been
Break
liking.
up the Tigers, Ron.
Yeah, that's it. They're on a 6-game win streak, sending Spencer Turnbull to the hill today up against Adrian Hauser of the Milwaukee Brewers. Man, a lot of high-scoring double-figure games yesterday. We had 23 runs, 16 runs, 12 runs. Man, hope did they leave any on the Grand Salami must have been crushed after
No doubt.
Hey?
Yeah.
So looking at today's matchup, Adrian Hauser up against Spencer Turnbull. Detroit in a 6-game win streak, and they're knocking on the doors to make the playoffs there. With only a couple of games behind the Blue Jays for that 8th spot. The price, though, 160 price here on the Brewers. So Tigers getting no respect today, as 8.5 point is the total.
Milwaukee continues to be overvalued, Ron.
Yeah, I don't get it. I really don't understand how. To me, this is more of a reputation type of line for the perception reality, because there's no way. Like our line here, and which makes way more sense than the line the bookmakers are giving. We had them at -121. I think that's the line I would give today.
Yeah, it seems more like it should be in that area. I mean, look, Michael Fulmer pitched for Detroit yesterday, Ron. The guy was struggling going into that game, and he looked like Sandy Koufax yesterday, for lack of just coming to mind, although he's not a left-hander. But yeah, it's and Milwaukee continues struggling hitting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hey, but one thing, though, Ron, I had the over as my free play yesterday in this game.
Nice.
Went over 9.5. But again, I mentioned this yesterday. As much as Milwaukee has struggled to hit this year, this was a mind-boggling stat going into yesterday's game to me. When the total is 9 or 9.5 in Brewers games this year, it was 13-1 over the total going into yesterday. It's now 14-1 over the total. So go figure.
Yeah, that's a nice cashing ticket right there if you had the over last night at Miller Park. Cleveland taking on the Kansas City Royals. Now, Zach Plesac started yesterday, and another double-digit win on the board, 10-1 against the Kansas City Chiefs. Coming off a game, and this is my law of average theory, Ross. The night before was a 2-1 win for KC. Now you go, the 10-1. It's like night and day when it comes to these scores for these two teams here. You got Tristan McKenzie going up against Jacob Eunice today. Looking at the line, -172 on the Tribe, 22-14 on the year, 14-22 for Kansas City. The algorithm's going to lean with the Cleveland Indians here, 4.54, 4.04, the over-under at 8.58. So right there on the total, but it does like it to go over a bit. What's your thoughts on this game?
Well, Jake Junis, he gets a start. It's his first start against Cleveland this year. However, he started 6 games against the Indians last year, and in those 6 starts had a pretty lofty 6.82 ERA, Ron. So he has not fared well against the Indians in recent history. Also, 3 starts this year, a 158 whip, and he's averaging 4.2 innings pitched per start in those 3 outings. Watch out for this kid, Tristan McKenzie. He's a highly touted young pitcher, and he's fared pretty well in his first 2 starts. He's posted a 2.70 ERA, a 0.90 whip, averaging 5 innings per start. Not a lot of innings, right, Ron? 10 innings total in 2 starts. But when you have a bullpen like the Indians, all you need to do is give them 5 good innings.
Yeah, so Kansas City needs to start finding bigger bats, because they're only hitting in their last 3 games 1.67 runs per game.
Right, right. And how about 5 games against Cleveland this year? The Royals have scored a grand total of 8 runs.
Yeah, you can't win ball games like that.
And
Texas Rangers taking on the Houston Astros. Christian Javier up against Colby Allard. Now looking at the price on this game, big price here at 205 for Houston. The over-under at 9. ATS forecast, the algorithm's going to go with Houston, 4.22, 3.89. The over-under at 8.11. A little bit of a revenge game here today for the Houston Astros. As, guy I've been watching all year, Fran Valdez, struggled yesterday. Had him in my fantasy. I play fantasy once in a while, but I had him yesterday and let me down. 6-5 win for Texas. And looking at the Rangers now, 13-21 on the year, up against 19-15 for Houston. And the Kogo today, Ross, at 30%. Last two games for the Astros have gone over. Should be a good matchup to get back on track here for Houston with a little revenge factor against their state rival, the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, I think Houston bounces back big today, Ron. Texas with a rare road win this year. Now they're even with that win, I think they're like 2-12 their last 14 games overall. But even more importantly, Colby Allard gets a start today for Texas, Ron. He's got a 12.00 ERA over his last 3 starts. On the other hand, Christian Javier, the starter for the Astros, has made 3 starts at Minute Maid Park this year with a 2.08 ERA and a 1.69 WHIP. And then lastly, even with yesterday's loss, the Houston Astros, since the start of last year, are 42-9 at home versus fellow AL West opponents. And on the other hand, the Texas Rangers, even with their win yesterday, are just 12-33 since last year on the road when facing fellow AL West opponents. So pretty strong data there.
Yeah, no, it is. And to that, to complement that, Texas 2-7 as a road underdog this year. Where Houston 13-4, averaging 5.59 runs for as a home favorite this season. So maybe the run line, like you say, right?
Yeah.
Looking at today between the Chicago White Sox and the Twins. Now this series is split. Chicago won game 1. Minnesota had to hang on to that win yesterday. 3-2 against Dallas Keuchel and the Chicago White Sox. Now, looking at this line, it's a pick 'em line in my view. 111, over-under set at 9. We got Reynaldo Lopez up against Jose Barrios today for Minnesota. Now, we talked about Barrios at the beginning of the year. Didn't start off great, but I think in his last couple of starts, he's been very competitive. I'd have to check his innings pitch. But this series has not disappointed, Ross.
Yeah, Lindy Ruff home and away splits for Barrios. I got a free pick on this game. You could view that. I'm going to send Ron. I already sent Ron, I think, a free pick video on this game. So those of you interested in my free pick, you can get it at atsstats.com under my page, Ross Benjamin.
All right. And Barrios last couple of starts, 6 innings pitched, 5.2 last game against Cleveland, 6 innings against Milwaukee. So, you only allowed 1 hit against Milwaukee in 6 innings of pitch.
Yeah, 1 start against the White Sox this year wasn't very good, though, Ron.
Okay.
4 innings pitched, 5 earned runs given up. But he has pitched very well at home against the White Sox.
San Diego taking on the Halos. Now, another close game for Halos in their last game against Seattle was 2-1. And San Diego, 6-0 win. Now, both teams here on 1 day's rest. San Diego really didn't have any problems with Colorado in that series. Dinelson Lamet going here today. I know that's a pitcher you're big high on this season, up against Julio Teheran, who's just been awful. Like his ERA is just skyrocketing every time I look at it. Look at the over in his last 4 starts, 4-0, 2-game losing streak. This Halo team, like if I'm Mike Trout, I'm looking at the management saying, look, give me some help.
Yeah, Joe Madden, who's had a lot of success managing the Cubs and the Tampa Bay Rays. First year on the job, not a very forgetful experience so far.
Hey, Teheran,
you mentioned Teheran.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, 4 starts this year, all 4 went over, like Ron said. A lot of it has to do with a 9.94 ERA in those 4 starts, and he allowed 5 home runs in 12 2/3 innings pitched. Padres red hot right now, Ron. 11-3 over the last 14. Dinelson Lamet, 7 starts this year, a 2.35 ERA, a 0.94 WHIP, overpowering pitcher, 51 Ks in 38 1/3 innings pitched. And, San Diego right now is playing – these are 2 teams obviously headed in opposite directions.
Yeah. The only thing I'm going to be careful here, Ross, is the totals because, let's be honest, they're coming off a series, a 4-game series with the Rockies, where very hitter friendly ballpark.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you can get caught into that overs perception, right? But here's the thing is about this Julio Teheran is maybe this total, to me, this total looks very low.
Yeah, I mean, in
9.
San Diego, Ron, they're right now they're number 2 in all of baseball in home runs hit.
Unless the bookmakers think that the LA is not going to touch the Lamet here today.
Yeah, or Julio Teheran's going to have a bounce back. Who knows?
Yeah. Arizona taking on the LA Dodgers. Now Dodgers winning last night 6-3, and big price tag again here, -205 on the Dodgers. 8.5 is the over/under. You got Zach Gallen, your guy, up against my guy Walker Buehler's day off for the Dodgers. And you know what? He's been okay this year. Like, I know he's 6-1 when he starts for the Dodgers, but to me, I put Buehler into that. He resembles a lot like Greg Maddux. He knows where to put his pitches. He's got that same demeanor and build of Greg Maddux. What's your thoughts on Walker Buehler?
I love him. The Maddux comparison is good, with the exception he's got a more explosive fastball. Maddux threw in the high 80s, but your analogy is correct, because this kid knows how to look at everybody right now in Major League Baseball. When it comes to starting pitchers, it's not like the old days, Ron, where if a guy threw 90 or above, he was a power pitcher. Everybody does now. The key is not every Major League hitters are going to catch up to fastballs if that's all you have. Okay, I don't care if you're a 100-mile-an-hour fastball guy; they will catch up to you if that's what you're predominantly throwing. Buehler, on the other hand, he's got a good fastball, in addition to the fact that what Ron just alluded to. He keeps hitters off balance. He spots the corners. He's very seldom in the middle of the plate. Zach Gallen, I continue to be high on this guy, Ron. I'm going to say that you'd hear a lot more about him this year if it wasn't for his team is struggling so badly. Over his last 3 starts, for example, a 1.35 ERA, 0.85 whip. He's averaging 6.7 innings pitched per start. So he's giving you innings. He's got a great ERA, and this kid really knows how to pitch. He really does. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens tonight. This has all the makings of a pitcher's duel to me.
Yeah, a couple of points. You made some good points there with the pitching today compared to back in our day. When you hear guys like Steve Stone talking, and radio guys now could be like pitching coaches, because they're like calling every pitch, and the technology today. Like when you watch a baseball game, like sometimes when I watch the Red Sox, they not only tell you the miles per hour, but they tell you the pitch that the pitcher did, and it just we're more as a viewer getting more information to make us smarter as fans to watch it and understanding. And, you can't help but these announcers also tracking these guys. And I learned a lot just listening to Steve Stone the other night, just in one broadcast.
Well, you got to remember, too, Ron, Steve Stone is a former Major League Baseball pitcher, and he's got the monitor in front of him that's giving him a center field view. And he's able to probably pick up what the signs are by the catchers and figure those out a lot quicker than most would. So having said that, your point's well taken. He's one of the best color guys in baseball.
You ever do this, Ross? You watch a game and you look at the catcher and he gives his numbers, and then you pick up those numbers, and then you start knowing, okay, 1, here comes the fastball. 2, maybe a changeup. But anyways, it's really fun to I love baseball. Baseball in the summer is a great dog days of summer, right?
Yeah.
ATS forecast, going to lean with the Dodgers here. After all that, 4.88, 4.84, the over-under at 9.72. So it does like it to go over the total, but, I think this is going to be a great pitching matchup tonight. But you're right, Arizona, 1-9 in the last 10, averaging 3 runs, giving up 5.2. And I'll say it again. When Goldsmith left for St. Louis, he took half the team with him mentally.
Yeah. And the other thing with them, they're actually 1-10 in their last 11. But the computer only recognizes the last 10, and they've gone under the total in 9 of those the last 11 games, Ron. And even more compelling is the fact that they've scored 2 runs or fewer in 8 of those 11 games. So big pitching matchup there with Galen and Buehler. It scares you a little bit with the Dodgers, the way they lead all of Major League Baseball in home runs, that explosive offense. But I still think this will end up being a very good starting pitcher duel.
Yeah, I agree. 80% club stat, Ross. We have a few here. The Cincinnati Reds, 12-1 as a 140-160 home favorite. 3rd game of a series the last 6 years. The New York Yankees, 10-1 as a 100-120 home favorite, coming off a night game the last 3 years. A couple of nice little stats there. And folks,
the only thing there is the Yankees are minus 128 now. So again, in the computer's defense, when it got the initial line, that fell within that parameter.
Yeah, the opening line.
Yeah.
So and then the last one here, the Cleveland Indians, 13-2 as a 160-180 road favorite, playing in the month of September the last 7 years. But this is a different year because really technically we're probably in the month of May maybe?
Yeah.
June.
Yeah.
So you know what? Some good numbers there. Anything to share today, Ross?
Yeah, I mean, be sure to visit my website, rbwins.com. Baseball 34-22 over my last 56, 61% since July 29th. I continue to win with my pace selections, 4-0 the last 2 days, 57-40 since July 29th with all my pace selections. That's 59%. Coming off a nice NBA winner yesterday that covered by 60 points. No exaggeration. I had the under. It finished at 158, the total, and the total I needed to beat was 218. So, again, those come along once every 5 or 6 years, when you win like that, Ron.
Yeah, you
and
need
also,
the fan.
don't forget, folks, you can buy my picks, too, at atsstats.com. And don't forget, I'll have a free pick video up today at atsstats.com. Just click on Ross Benjamin's page, and you'll get a free pick winner from me. 2-0 the last 2 days with my free picks, Ron. St. Louis on Monday, plus 101. Yesterday, I had the Tigers and the Brewers over 9.5. That finished 12-1. What about you, my friend?
Yeah, no, if you go to atsstats.com, I will have free picks on our free pick page. All you got to do is under the menu tab, Cappers Pick, go to free picks, and you'll see my selections along with Ross's. And you can also get our premium picks. We have our premium picks up for sale each and every day. And you can get a membership at atsstats.com. And if you just want to kick the tires and test drive it for 1 day, we do have a 1-day package for $9.99. And here's the best part. We're running a 25% promotion, NFL 2020. That's one word, NFL 2020. Put that in. You get 25% off any of our membership packages here at ATS Stats. And kick the tires, take a test drive, and see if we can help you with your sports handicapping needs. And with NFL football season, you might need more tools in the toolbox, eh, Ross?
Absolutely. I mean, we're living in that COVID-19 era, folks. Don't forget, there's a lot that we have to account for that we didn't have to account for before this 2020 year, which we'd all like to leave behind. But it is what it is. And, the COVID-19 testing, we're looking at some possible abrupt line changes that we've never seen before in the NFL. So, again, you need the advice of the professionals. Go to atsstats.com. You can't beat the 2 guys you're looking at on the screen right now.
Yeah, great show today, buddy. As always, he's Ross Benjamin. I'm Ron Raymond. This was the Raymond Report Sports Betting Podcast for Wednesday, Hump Day, September 2nd. As always, shop for value. Play those percentages. We'll see you back shortly with another Raymond Report.